Hey guys, Ryan here, and Toyota didn't cheat, according to NASCAR. Let's talk about and unpack a lot of what has happened over the last 18 hours, roughly. Basically, from this morning when NASCAR's competition and his vice president of competition, Scott Miller, on NASCAR radio, went and said that they were going to be investigating potential cheating with Eric Jones in the 20, letting Hamlin lead him so that he could get the playoff spot to make the championship for eliminating Harvick, or at the very least putting Harvick in the position that he ended up in, where he ended up trying to wreck the 18 to get the spot. I think there's a lot to talk about, but a lot of the questions that I've had have kind of been answered over the course of this 18-hour span that we've kind of been looking at it and unpacking the investigations into it. I don't think we have clarification on whether they'll penalize Harvick or not, but it doesn't really matter at this point if they penalize Harvick because he's out. Hamlin is in. Championship 4 is official. You've got Logano, Keselowski, Elliott, and Hamlin going for that championship next week. But I've actually got the rule pulled up here. So it says NASCAR requires its competitors to race at 100% of their ability with the goal of achieving the best possible finish in the events. Any competitor that takes actions with the intent to artificially alter it, essentially meaning if they are backing off and intentionally doing stuff to try and avoid passing certain people, whether that be because the thing this is most similarly compared to is the 2013 Richmond scandal. This is way less controversial because you don't have a wreck or a spin where you're potentially damaging cars. You don't have another guy going down pit road to make sure he gives up the spot. And you don't have a situation where it takes a whole lot of piecing together to be like, okay, they did all of that, and communicated it all over the radio. This was one driver that is not a playoff driver, and one guy that is racing for the championship. Essentially, Jones just not roughing up his teammate, which, regardless of whether it is or isn't a teammate, let's say if this was, I'm just going to use a non-involved driver here. Let's say this is Michael McDowell, just for filler here. Let's say this is Michael McDowell behind Denny Hamlin, and let's say somehow Michael McDowell does have a better car than Hamlin, for sake of argument. I don't think McDowell does that either, because I think it comes down to the fact of Hamlin's trying to race for a championship. Now, the radio audio is where it gets confused, where I think you can maybe argue a fine, but certainly any kind of points penalty or taking Hamlin out of that Final Four, I think is unwarranted, in the fact that I think if it was a completely unrelated driver, I don't think they would have roughed up Hamlin to make that pass. And looking back at the replays of what happened, I don't really see where Hamlin gave a very easy pass to Jones. I think I saw one clip where Jones probably could have gotten up the inside with minimal contact by Martinsville standards, and he didn't take it. But again, that could just be him trying to be cautious and not wreck a championship contender. All the drivers do that. I mean, even the guys that, I'm pretty sure I remember Dale Jr. even saying it, that you race the playoff guys differently, even if you're not their teammate, even if you're not a teammate to one of them. That you do race them somewhat differently. You shouldn't really have to, but just kind of the way it is, they've got way more on the line than anything else. So, man. So when it comes down to the audio, I could see a hefty fine, maybe 10, 20,000 fine. I could see them doing that. But I just don't see the reason to go for a penalty like that, especially when it's kind of become custom that a lot of drivers will naturally during the race. I mean, the 21 was letting the 2 and 22 run right on by him all day long. The 14 and the 10 never raced the 4 very hard. And saying the 21 actually raced the 4 incredibly tough once Keselowski got by him late in that race to try and hold him up. Yeah, Harvick did eventually get past De Benedetto there, and then ended up falling behind him due to the intentional wreck. And then kind of the other argument that we had there was should they promote Harvick back in because of the Hamlin incident. Of course, with Hamlin not getting a penalty, that won't happen. But I think really you shouldn't be. I think you need to penalize him as well if you deem that what Hamlin did was out of line, or what Joe Gibbs did as a whole was out of line. Then you gotta penalize Harvick for intentionally taking out Kyle Busch. I mean, it is what it is, but in the end, he nearly tore up 2 race cars that were very clean for Martinsville standards for one point. And again, a lot of people point to 2014, Ryan Newman putting Larson in the wall. Again, okay, similar type of track. Both are fairly short tracks, fairly low speed. One was door-to-door contact that resulted in one car in the wall. This was one car getting to the corner of the other, spinning them both around, and making pretty heavy contact with an inside wall and going sideways right in front of a bunch of other cars coming to the line. I think that's a fair amount more dangerous, a fair amount more uncalled for. And really, I think Harvick, if he was going to try and do that, should have just done more what Logano did to Truex a year back in 2018, which is put the door to him in the middle of the corner, because Harvick had that opportunity, didn't do it to Kyle, and then kind of made that last-ditch move when he realized that he wasn't going to get the run off the bottom of the corner to try and pass Kyle, and ultimately ended up wrecking himself and spinning Kyle around. Kyle did an amazing 360. But yes, and then in that case, I just think there's so many moving pieces. It's simpler to go with the no penalty call here, or at the very least no points penalties. Again, I could very easily have seen a fine coming out. NASCAR's already said there won't be a penalty, so in the end, that's how it is. I am going to do a separate video probably on the playoff format, because I've seen a lot of people talking about that. But that could probably be another 20-minute video on itself. And I don't need even more controversy on going on today. So I'll be streaming later tonight, probably doing something NASCAR heat related that is joking around with the fact with the presidential debate, or not presidential debate, presidential race and election day going on. So expect to stream from me about 7:30, 8 p.m. Easternish. Might be a little later, might be a little earlier, just depending on what my availability is. But other than that, that should be most everything covered. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you guys did, hit the like button on the video. Subscribe if you guys are new. I try and do these types of videos multiple times a week, especially as the playoffs are ramping up. And if you guys enjoy, of course, share the video with everybody you know. And I will see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you guys decide to do the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye!